Mechwarrior 5 Clans, the new DLC Ghost Bear Flash Storm is out, and there was a couple of changes made to the weapons balancing, and of course we want to deep dive into exactly what changed to the base game and what are your best choices moving forward, as well as of course all the changes and what I think about them. This is gonna be, caveat, a spreadsheet warrior video, so we'll be staring at data. If that's your thing, glad, join me. If that's not your thing, maybe skip towards the end part of the video where we do the too long didn't read part. Let's go! Alright, you guys might be familiar with my Lost Tech MW5 Clans spreadsheet where we summed up all the different weapons as well as their damage, rate of fire, damage per second, heat, max range, duration, projectile speed, and so on and so on and so on. And I have put up the vanilla versions against the Ghost Bear Flash Storm weapons and looked at the stats and then decided it's the nerf or it's the buff. So, for the ERPPC, the only change to the ERPPC is an increase in heat and a removal of 25% almost max range. So, that is a net nerf for ERPPC. For the large lasers, heat stays the same, DPS stays the same, max range once again gets removed by about 25%, and the duration is increased by 30% as well, netting us a nerf to ER large lasers. ER medium lasers. Rate of fire goes down slightly, damage per second goes down slightly, heat goes up, range also once again 25% or so off, plus duration 0.05 seconds on top. Straight nerf. ER small lasers. Rate of fire goes down, damage per second goes down of course, max range 25% off, duration actually decreased by 0.1 seconds, but still a net nerf. Flamers are flamers, nothing happened there. Large pulse lasers, the damage per shot went up from 13 to 15, the heat also went up by 1 heat, and the max range was nerfed by, once again, 25%. Duration stayed the same, so overall, there's a buff to its damage and damage per second, but a nerf in terms of its heat efficiency and max range. Medium pulse lasers. Damage is increased by 1, damage per second goes up slightly, heat goes up slightly, max range, big reduction, especially in the medium pulse world, 720 down to 540 is a lot. Damage per heat stays about the same, damage per ton is actually going up because the damage goes up a little bit, but so does the heat. So it does more DPS, but the range is quite truncated. So it is a buff and a nerf, but it's more focused on the nerf side, I would say. Small pulse lasers. Damage per shot goes up. Rate of fire slightly goes down, but damage per second is actually increased significantly from 1.25 now to 2 damage per second, which makes small pulse lasers interesting. Duration 0.6 seconds. The max range of 330 though is a big problem because that will really impact your chances at getting these weapons to work. Remember, the closer you are to your targets, the more damage they're gonna do to you. But damage per ton goes up. I would say it's a buff and a nerf at the same time. I think the small pulse lasers should not have had their range truncated. The range is already short enough. Tag gear, nothing happening. So, that was a lot of changes for the energy weapons, and I would say mostly on the nerf side. Do I agree or disagree with them? We'll get to that later on. Let's jump into the ballistics. Gauss rifle is unchanged. All of these solid slug weapons are going to be unchanged as well, so I won't mention them. So LB10, LB2, LB20, LB5, UAC 10, 2, and so on. All the solid slug weapons are unchanged, so let's not even talk about them. LB10s, rate of fire goes up, damage per second goes up, and projectile speed goes up slightly. Straight up buff. LB2s, rate of fire up, damage per second up, And significantly, that's 50% DPS increase. So, nice. Also, projectile speed up. They didn't change anything about the spread values, by the way, but they upped DPS as well as projectile speed for the LB2s, also for the LB20s, yeah, also for the LB5. A good change I find is the machine gun. Machine gun stays the same in terms of values, except for one crucial change: max range from 150 up to 300. That's a good change for the machine guns, makes the machine guns more viable, especially in the early game on the light mechs. 300 meters machine gun range is, I think, warranted. UAC 10, DPS up because of rate of fire up, and projectile speed up by 50%. Yeah, from 600 to 900 is a 50% buff. That's a straight up buff. UAC 2, rate of fire from 66 to 100 rounds per minute. Almost doubles the damage per second. Projectile speed up from 1350 to 1700. Also straight up buff. We have the Auto Autocannon 20 right here. Rate of fire slightly up. Damage per second slightly up. Projectile speed 800 up from 500. Straight up buff. And the UAC 5. Rate of fire up means damage per second goes up. Projectile speed goes up significantly as well. Also straight up buff. The only problem I still have with this is that for... Let's put it like this. Look at the damage per second values between the Ultra AC20 here and the Ultra AC5. So Ultra AC20 at 12 tons gives you 6.1 damage per second at a target at 360 max range with 800 projectile speed. Or for 2 tons more, you install 2 UAC 5s at almost double the DPS, almost double the range. Actually, yeah, almost double the range and almost double the projectile speed. For only 2 tons more, you almost double everything. So I think the weapon balancing is off in this regard. I feel like these should maybe do more damage. Because there's no reason to ever equip a single weapon of these if you can equip 2 of the smaller ones, right? So that's what I feel here. Might be true, might not be true, but that's just my feeling. Okay, moving on to missiles. This is gonna go a little bit faster. So, I checked through all of this painstakingly. Dark Missile Beacon is not changed. All LRMs are getting buffed, and the only thing that gets buffed with LRMs is the projectile speed. They're doubling the projectile speed for LRMs, which is a good thing. SRMs, no changes. Streaks, no changes. So, that is not good. SRMs needed a buff, and Streaks needed a buff, and there's no changes there. Especially in Streak SRM 6. That's why it says nerf buff, not applicable, and still brain dead. And to give you guys an idea of why I'm so salty about this one, Streak SRM 2, 2 damage per second, 1 ton. Streak SRM 4, 4 damage per second, 2 tons. That's a linear increase. Streak SRM 6, 3 tons, so 1 ton more than the Streak 4, which is 1 ton more than the Streak 2. Damage per second, 3.5. You're installing a weapon system that takes 1 more ton than the previous one, but instead of going to 6 damage, where it should be, because also the heat scales in a linear way, 1.8, 3.6, for 5.4 for the Streak 6, but the damage per second goes down. It should be 6 and not 3.5. And I don't understand this, and I don't give a, forgive my French, rat's ass if it's canon or not, or if it's tabletop. Who cares? It makes no sense. It makes no sense from a gameplay perspective. So that value should have been tweaked in my opinion. And again, SRMs and Streaks need a buff. They're not in a good spot. They're super range limited. They are spreading the damage. It is not good. Needs to be stronger. And I'm not talking about buffing what the AI has, I'm talking buffing what you and your lancemates have. Because the AI is Zerg mode anyways. Like, who cares what they're using? They're just bass, right? But your guys need to have class. That also means class in weapon systems. Alright. Moving on to the too long didn't read setting. Energy weapons. Welcome to Nerfland. Population, you. Some balance changes in here make sense. The range, for example, I think I can get behind the range changes, yeah. ER smalls and medium pulses felt like they had a little bit too much range, but looking at what was done to ballistics and missiles, it still leaves me unsatisfied. The range nerfs across the board, I don't think that's a huge issue, because our zoom is still squinting, and squinting some more, so there's no difference at shooting targets, like 500 meters, 1000 meters, 1500 meters is always going to be small. Small pulses, as I've mentioned before, might now be more interesting as the DPS is up, but the range nerf is just hurting it still, so I don't think the small pulses should have had their range truncated like that. And I wrote this, by the way, before I played through the campaign. I said mass medium pulses is still going to be king, followed by mass ER smalls and mass ER mediums. That's not quite the case, I should probably rephrase that. Mass LPL. Yeah, medium lasers get hot. I said that, yeah. If only 3 to 4 energy slots, mass LPL is gonna be better. Could be better thanks to the big DPS increase that they got. So overall, I think LPL more interesting these days, and I think, like, while it is a lot of nerfs on the energy weapons, I kind of understand why they're doing it, but my problem is that from the get-go, I said, don't touch the energy weapons, don't nerf the energy weapons, buff ballistics and buff missiles, especially SRMs. And there were some changes here, yes, but I don't like making someone's toy worse to force them to play the other stuff, right? Like, energy weapons I felt were at a good enough spot, so I think those nerfs were not necessary. Except for the range. I think the range stuff, okay. I will say, okay, the range stuff, that's I'm okay with that. Moving on to ballistics. There's some good changes there, I would say. But some changes, in my opinion, this is my opinion, like, you could have a different opinion, of course, absolutely, it's just my opinion. I think some changes are not far enough or illogical. And some weapons are unchanged, which is bad. Specifically the solid slug weapons. Yeah, no changes. Bad. At least change the projectile speed. Gauss is unchanged, that's fine. The LBX autocannon's DPS up and projectile speed up is nice. I don't think it's enough. And the spread is still also brutal. Same goes for the UX. Solid slugs, unchanged as I mentioned, is not good. Machine gun range doubled is a nice and good change. That is well done. I fully support this change. Well, that's a good change. That's a W. Auto autocannon DPS up and projectile speed up is good, but the UX, as I showed you before from the spreadsheet, it's wildly inconsistent in terms of weapon size and DPS. Like, the UX20 has way too little DPS compared to the UX5. Yeah. 2 UX20 has half the DPS of 4 UX5 at the same tonnage. Makes no sense. Right? Plus half the range and half the projectile speed. Like, if it's gonna be one beefy weapon, it needs to be beefy in the range it's meant to be used. Whereas right now we have like the Mechwarrior online sickness of the better weapon is better in every regard, even in the perfect range for the other weapon. The smaller weapon is still better, right? Moving on to missiles. LRM changes in my opinion are okay. No changes on streaks and SRMs is a huge loss. That's a huge L. Yeah, I support the doubled LRM speed. I think that's a good change. Narc is unchanged. The usefulness of Narc, just the usefulness of like the target laser, I find it's extremely questionable. SRMs, in my opinion, sort of needed a buff because they were really, really weak in the base game and they received nothing. So that is a huge miss right there. Same thing with streaks. No reason to go streaks. And the streak 6s are still brain dead. They're not scaling properly. In terms of the tonnage versus tonnage and heat increase versus DPS actual decrease down from the streak 4. It makes no sense. So, in sum, there are some changes that are good, some are bad. And the power dynamic, unfortunately, is unaffected. Energy is still king. Ballistic is second, with small buffs. And missiles with LRMs is coming in third, with SRMs and Strix getting the Pepega ranking. Overall, I'm gonna be honest here, I expected more changes. Especially in terms of buffs for Ballistics and SRMs and Strix. Like I said before, some of the energy changes make sense to me, I can live with those. But personally, I feel that time changing the energy weapons would have been better spent working on making Ballistics and missiles better for the player and squad. And I want to talk about the elephant in the room that's anybody so far. I have not seen anybody talk about this so far. The elephant in the room. The big issue no one's talking about is accuracy. The Mechwarrior Online, that's a PvP game. And the best builds and weapon combos rise to the top. And PPFLD, that means pinpoint front-loaded damage, is always king. And in Mechwarrior 5 Clans and the DLC, only energy weapons deliver these pinpoint accurate shots. Plus, of course, the solid slug guns, yes, but they also have some bullet drop and whatnot, so forget about that. Energy, pinpoint, easy to get on target. Everything else, sprays. And it doesn't provide enough damage, DPS or range to offset that problem yet. Nothing here is a problem that can't be addressed in the future patch or later DLC if the changes are more substantial. But my recommendation to BGI is, guys, please don't go in nerfing energy again, because then my tone will change from friendly to pretty pissed off, frankly, because I don't think energy needs another nerf. I think the other stuff just needs some buffs to make it more competitive. Energy weapons are not the issue here. The issue is the weakness of ballistics and missiles compared to the energy weapons. Don't bring the strong stuff down, make the weak stuff stronger so all weapons feel fun and powerful. And that means that if ballistics and missiles are going to be spreading their damage, they need to be doing enough damage for the player and the lands, not for the AI, because I don't want to see 10,000 AI bots running at me with buffed SRMs, okay? But for the player lands and the players themselves, this stuff needs to offset their lack of pinpoint damage with higher DPS values, good projectile speeds, and all that nice stuff, right? So think about that, and maybe we can see some good changes along the way. Everybody right here, what are your thoughts? Do you think this is a fair assessment? Do I think I was wrong here at any point completely? Let me know. Like, once again, guys, this is just my opinion. That doesn't mean I'm right. It just means that's how I feel currently about the weapon balancing in the game. Let me know your thoughts. Put them down in the comment section, of course. And hey, if anybody of PGI is watching this, appreciate the time. Hopefully it's helpful to you guys as feedback. Thanks. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, supporters. Couldn't do it without you. If you want to join Team TTB, check out the join button right here on YouTube, super thanks button in the comment section, or of course the links to Patreon or the merch store listed in the video description.